Okay, the title of my story is Tomboy. So this happened on a Friday the 13th in April 1956. And I was 15 years old and 9 months. And that day I wrote in my diary, well, I pulled a dumb one today. And that I did. Our principal, Mr. Lester, his father had had a stroke, and so he wasn't there at school that Friday. Now, our school was in a small farming community. We had a total of 40 in the entire high school. And so we had a lot of freedom. There were only 5 teachers, including the principal. So we could run around the school, we could go outside, we could, on lunch hour, in between classes, we could go to the locker room or play in the gym. There was a lot of freedom because we didn't really vandalize anything, but we could get into mischief. So that spring day, we were feeling rather extra frisky because the principal was away. So we were hanging out at the front door and of the school, and there's a ledge that runs along the above the front door and the length of the building between the 2 stories, and it's about 10 feet off the ground. And some of the boys got up on that ledge and were cavorting around, and I thought, being a tomboy and not wanting the boys to be able to do something that I, couldn't do too, I thought I can get up there. So I ran to the locker room and got my shorts on under my skirt, and I ran back and shimmied up the flagpole and got on the ledge. Then Paul Mason and Jerry Agnew jumped off. Then they started daring me to jump off, and I was really scared, but this is a dare, I've got to do it. So I jumped off, and I hurt myself. I sprained my ankle and got a tear in my ankle. I don't know who ran in the school and called my folks, which we live 5 miles out of town, but they showed up with the car all full of blankets and comforters and pillows in the back, and I was so embarrassed to get in the back seat because everything embarrassed me in those days. And they took me to Lincoln to the doctor, and sure, he put wrapped my foot all up, and I had an X-ray, and so then I had to use crutches all weekend. But I don't think I got punished because I made a note in my diary that Saturday night I went to Middletown to the show. And Sunday I was on crutches, and I was complaining in my diary how much my armpits hurt. And then on Monday I had to use crutches at school, and I was complaining in my diary about how difficult it was to carry the books around with crutches. And then I went back to the doctor, and he put a kind of a boot on my foot, and I was able to walk without the crutches after that. And it didn't hurt too much. I'm not sure I learned much of a lesson because on Thursday the principal wasn't there again, and I wrote in my diary that Helen and Beverly and I and some of the boys during PE class, boys' PE class, I don't know how we managed to do this, but we got up on the roof of the school because Mr. Lester wasn't there. And I think, as I recall, there was a ladder somewhere inside the school that you could go up on the roof. And had the principal been there, or had I been punished, or had he not been distracted by his father's illness, I might have received some punishment, and then I might not have gone up on the roof. But by Thursday, I was back up, we were walking around on the roof. There were several levels, and I mentioned that there's another paratrooper in the school. And I put in an aside, well, that's what they're calling me now, is paratrooper. Because Roy Dean had hurt himself in gym class, but he had been up on the roof, and he jumped from one level to another level, and then he jumped off the roof onto the ground, and probably over the locker rooms, which were just one story. And he got laid up, he was laid up in bed. But I'm not sure that I think I was more careful after that about things I did. But I do know that I wrote in my diary, but I'm glad I did jump off. Otherwise, I'd be called a chicken now.